It's Halloween season, a time of monsters, zombies, and of course, ghosts. And what's another word for ghosts? A phantom, or in this case, a phantom virus. Allow me to explain. The phantom virus has been manifesting in the Duel disc owned by a man named Gary, but now it finally managed to possess its host, as well as bring its own deck physical with it. The origin of the virus is currently unknown, but if I had to take a guess, I'd say it has something to do with the Phantom Knight of Ancient Cloak, since, as soon as it possesses Gary, it's suddenly wearing a cloak. As we can see from the sequel, it's got a bit of a foggy, ghost-like attire, while still having that purple coloring, so I'd like to think I have a case. Though we won't be covering the sequel today. Maybe another time, but today, we'll just be focusing on this special crossover episode between Yu-Gi-Oh! HNGRY VII and Yu-Gi-Oh! Comic Life. Anyway, the plot of this special is that Gary and his best friend Cory were about to have a duel when the Phantom Virus possessed Gary. A man named Erik saw this go down and decided to check out what was going on. He and Cory have a small chat as Gary is moaning in agony because that's the kind of nice people that they are. They don't chat long though because the virus takes hold, and it says its plan is to defeat the two men standing in front of it and spread its virus into them. That way it'll be the three of them versus the entire planet of Earth.
Not a great plan.
Well, I mean, obviously it was going to infect more people past those two, but I don't care what deck you're gonna run. There's no way the entire planet is just gonna stand there and let that happen. Even in the game Plague Inc., humanity acts at least. So if your big plan doesn't even work in a video game, it sure as heck ain't working in real life. Fortunately though, Erik sees an issue with the Phantom's plan. They'll just refuse the duel, and the plan is foiled. Unfortunately, the virus is so advanced that it can force other people's duel discs to activate against their free will, meaning Cory and Erik are now forced to duel the Phantom 2-on-1. But before we begin the duel, here are the rules. Each duelist starts with 8,000 life points and 5 cards in hand. Erik and Cory have their own individual field, but share a graveyard and an extra deck. This will be important later, trust me. The player who goes first cannot draw nor conduct their battle phase. The turn order goes as follows. First Phantom, then Erik, and then Cory. Okay, I think that's everything, so thank you to Yu-Gi-Oh! Comic Life for suggesting this duel, and let's quit our stalling and get brawling. The duel begins and Phantom goes first. His opening hand consists of Tour Guide from the Underworld, Kagemucha Knight, Grave Raptor Sharplanius, Fissure, and Wakaku. It starts by normal summoning Tour Guide. It uses Tour Guide's effect, then chains with Kagemuchu's Knight's effect from its hand. For Xenoverse chain order, since the level 3 monster was normal summoned, Phantom can special summon this card, though it cannot be used as synchro material. It's summoned in defense position. Now, Tour Guide's effect lets it special summon a level 3 fiend from its deck. With this effect negated, it summons Graph, Malabranch of the Burning Abyss. And because its effect is negated, it doesn't commit Sudoku because there aren't any other Burning Abyss on the field. Now, Phantom sets Tour Guide and Malabranch into Link Arrows to Link summon Link 2, Cherubini of the Burning Abyss. And because Graph went to the graveyard, Phantom can special summon one Burning Abyss monster from its deck. It special summons Seer, Malabranch of the Burning Abyss, to Cherubini's right Link Arrow. But shouldn't Seer blow itself up because Kagemuchu is on the field? No, because monsters under Cherubini's markers cannot be destroyed by card effects, including their own. And that was the 5th summon. Anyone got Nibiru? No? Well, buckle up then. Now, Cherubini's other effect activates. Phantom can send one level 3 monster from its deck to the graveyard, then increase the attack and defense of a Burning Abyss monster it controls by that sent monster's stats. It targets Seer, then sends the Phantom Knight's Ancient Cloak. So Seer now has 2,400 attack points and 2,200 defense points. Now Cloak's graveyard effect activates. By banishing it, Phantom can add one of the Phantom Knight's card from its deck to its hand, and it takes the Phantom Knights of Silent Boots. Next, Phantom overlays Seer and Kagemuchu Knight. To Exceed summon, rank 3, Levier the Sea Dragon. Erik comments that this is going to go on for a while, and he's right, because Phantom isn't even close to finished. In fact, it's only 1/3 done. Now, Phantom uses Levier's effect, detaching material, Seer, in order to revive the banished Ancient Cloak. And because Seer went to the graveyard, Phantom can special summon the Burning Abyss monster from its graveyard. It revives Graph under Cherry Beanie's left link marker. Now, because Phantom controls the Phantom Knights monster, it can special summon Silent Boots from its hand. Now, Phantom overlays its 2 level 3 Phantom Knights to XC summon rank 3 Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss in defense mode. It uses Dante's effect, milling the top 3 cards of its deck, so Dante gains 1500 attack points. It mills Phantom Knight's Wing and 2 mysterious cards. These cards are never used throughout the duel, so I'll just say they're Raid Raptor Strangulanius and the Phantom Knight's Rank Up Magic Force.
Nem merem fogadni, hogy ezzel nem a támadópont növelés volt a célja.
Well, duh! Phantom Knight overlays its rank 3 Leviarin Dante to XC summon rank 1 number F0 Utopic Future, a monster that can only be legitimately summoned by overlaying 2 non-number Exceeded monsters with the same rank. But it's still not over yet. It uses F0 to rebuild the overlay network. It XC summons number F0 Utopic Draco Future, because even Utopia wasn't immune to the rule that every final boss monster has to have a dragon involved. And before you comment naming an archetype that doesn't have one, ask yourself, when was the last time that archetype had support? Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. Regardless, Cory says that this guy is just too high above their level, but Erik points out that every deck has a weakness, because Erik apparently missed Pepe format. Phantom then sets Graph and Link 2 Cherubini in the Link arrows to Link summon Link 3
Phantom Knight Rusty Gardish.
Rusty's effect activates, sending a Phantom Knight card from the deck to the graveyard, Torn Scales, to set a Phantom Knight spell or trap from its deck to the field. Phantom sets the Phantom Knight's of Fog Blade. Phantom banishes Silent Boots to add a Phantom Knight spell or trap from its deck to its hand. It fetches another Fog Blade, and because another Phantom Knight's monster was banished, Torn Scales' graveyard effect activates, letting Phantom special summon it, but it's banished when it leaves the field. Now, Torn Scales' other effect activates. By discarding 1 card, Fog Blade, Phantom can mill 1 Phantom Knight's card to the graveyard. It mills the Phantom Knights of Ragged Gloves. Now it uses Wings effect from the graveyard. By banishing it, Phantom can revive a Phantom Knights monster from the graveyard. It revives Ragged Gloves. Phantom then overlays Scales and Gloves to XC summon rank 3 the Phantom Knight's Breaksword, linked to Rusty. And because Gloves was used as an Xyz material, Breaksword gains 1000 attack points.
And while the stat change isn't shown, that's only because Rusty's effect resolves first.
Because a Dark Attribute monster was Xyz summoned to Rusty's Link arrow, Phantom can destroy 1 card on the field, and it destroys its own Breaksword. Erik asks if that was a misplay, but they aren't so lucky. Because if Breaksword was destroyed after being Xyz summoned, Phantom can target 2 Phantom Knights monsters in its graveyard with the same level, and special summon them with 1 additional level. It revives Torn Scales and Ragged Gloves as level 4 monsters. Phantom then overlays its now level 4 monsters to XC summon Time Thief Redoer. Ragged Gloves' power boost effect is a once per turn though, so Redoer doesn't get a buff. Now Phantom uses Redoer's effect. Since it has a monster's Xyz material, it can attach a material, Gloves, to banish itself until the end of the turn. And with Gloves in the graveyard, Phantom can banish it to send the Phantom Knight's card from the deck to the grave, and it sends the Phantom Knight's Sword. Last but not least, Phantom sets Wabaku face down and ends its turn, and because it did, Redoer returns to the field. Man, it's a darn shame neither Erik nor Cory opened Max C. Then again, if either of them did, they might have lost a deck out, so maybe it's a good thing they didn't open it. Personally, I think much like how Jinzo should be a ride into a Psychic type, Phantom Knight should be a ride into a Cybers type already. Because jeez Louise, did you see that? Anyway, it's Erik's turn. He draws, and his opening hand consists of Gear Town, Ancient Gear Frame, Ancient Gear Fortress, Ancient Gear Catapult, Pot of Desires, and Elemental Hero Prisma. During the standby phase, Redoer's regular effect activates, attaching the top card of the opponent's deck as a Xyz material, and it gets the continuous trap card, Ancient Gear Reborn. Erik starts by activating Gear Town. Then, since he controls no monsters, he immediately activates the spell card, Ancient Gear Catapult. Now he can destroy 1 other face-up card he controls, then special summon 1
Ancient Gear monster
from his deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. He destroys Gear Town to summon Ancient Gear Golem! Then, because Gear Town was destroyed, Erik can special summon 1 Ancient Gear monster from his hand, deck, or graveyard. He special summons Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon from the deck. I know it's shown that Reactor was summoned and then Golem, but I like to think that was a filming error or something like that, or maybe that was the best take they had, because Golem cannot be special summoned. It needs to be cheated out or tribute summoned. Reactor, however, doesn't have that restriction. So the way I explain it is the only explanation that works. Gear Town just resolved before catapults in this, which wouldn't happen, so while this is an error in chain order, nothing was outright illegal. But this explanation won't really matter because as soon as Erik finishes summoning, Phantom activates Redoer's effect. Since it has a trap card's Exige material, by detaching that Exige material, Reborn, Reactor Dragon is placed on the top of Erik's deck. Cory vouches about how annoying the situation is, while Erik enters his battle phase. But as soon as he does, Phantom activates Sword's effect from the graveyard. By banishing it, Phantom can revive a Phantom Knight's monster from its graveyard. It revives Break Sword to Rusty's Arrow. And you know what that means? Rusty can destroy one card on the field, and it destroys Golem. Erik regrets joining this duel and ends his turn. What Erik should really regret is not activating Fortress or Pod Desires. Now, Steelman Erik, he didn't know Phantom would constantly interrupt him and make his plays effectively pointless. On the other hand, he should have activated just in case. Do you really think Phantom took 6 minutes comboing into vanilla beat sticks? Wait, this is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Product. That's exactly what you thought. God, I hate that cliche. Also, you could have at least normal set, gear frame, or Prisma just for a bit of protection, but I guess he wanted to save those for a combo he had later on. Plus, he is at full health, so not really a misplay. Also, kind of a misplay for not activating Desires, but again, to Steelman, you could say he didn't want to risk banishing 10 potential combo pieces, and is saving that for when he feels it's more necessary to, which is a valid concern. I'm just saying, it's Desires, man. It's a +2, not a -9. Although Erik will activate Desires during this duel, so that makes him smarter than a few actual canon Yu-Gi-Oh! Characters. So at least I can end the segment with a compliment, I guess, for what it's worth anyway. Moving on, it's Cory's turn. He draws, and his opening hand consists of Cyber Dragon, Cyber Repair Plant, Reckless Greed, Cyber Dragon Dry, Infinite Impermanence, and an unknown card. This card will never be seen or used, and all we know is that it's a light machine monster, so let's just say it's Cyber Laser Dragon. Why not? Redoer's standby effect activates. It yoinks the equipped spell Super Shrine Blaze from the top of Cory's deck. Now, because Phantom controls a monster while Cory controls none, he can special summon Cyber Dragon to the field. Next, he uses Cyber Dragon with Phantom's Rusty in the extra monster zone to perform a contact fusion. He fusion summons Chimera Tech Mega Fleet Dragon in attack mode. And Chimera Tech's attack points is 1,200 times the amount of material it had. Since there was 2, its attack points become 2,400. And now that there's a Cyber Dragon in his graveyard, Cory activates Cyber Repair Plant, which will allow him to add 1 light machine monster from his deck to his hand. And he adds Galaxy Soldier. Cory then discards a light machine monster, Laser, to special summon Galaxy Soldier in defense position. Cory then activates Soldier's effect, but Phantom chains, activating Fog Blade.
By equipping this card into Galaxy Soldier,
That monster has its effect negated, but that monster also can no longer be attacked. Cory figured that was coming, so he normal summons Cyber Dragon Dry from his hand. He uses the effect to make it a level 5. Phantom chains again though, this time activating F-Zero's effect. By detaching material, let's say Leviaire, it can negate that effect and take control of that monster. So Dry is now Phantom's monster. Cory says screw it and orders Mega Fleet to attack Dry. Dry is destroyed and Phantom takes 600 points of damage. Finally, Cory sets Reckless Greed and Infinite Impermanence face down and ends his turn. Could have used Wabaku there, but it was only 600 damage and you didn't really need that Dry, which makes it wonder why take it in the first place, but just so Cory can have it, so no misplay. It's Phantom's turn. It draws and gets Raid Raptor Vanishing Lanius. Phantom uses Redoer's effect. Since it's a spell's material, by detaching a material, Strike Blaze, Phantom can draw 1 card, and it gets the Phantom Knights of Stained Greaves. Phantom normal summons Vanishing Lanius. It uses its effect. Since it was summoned this turn, Phantom can special summon a level 4 or lower Raid Raptor monster from its hand. And it special summons Sharp Lanius. Now it overlays both Raid Raptors to Xyz summon rank 4 Dark Rebellion. Xyz Dragon! Now, Phantom activates Fissure to destroy a card on the opponent's field with the lowest attack points. So Galaxy Soldier and the Fog Blade it was equipped to are gone. After that, it uses Dark Rebellion's effect, attaching both of its overlay units to steal half of Mega Fleet's attack points. So Dark Rebellion's attack points rise to 3,700 and Mega Fleet's go down to 1,200.
Basszus!
Eat dirt and die, trash.
Battle phase. Dark Rebellion attacks Mega Fleet. Then Redoer attacks Cory directly. knocking Cory down to 3,100 life points. F-Zero and Break Sword attack Erik directly, knocking him down to 3,000 life points. Phantom ends its turn. Gotta give a misplay to Cory. Bro was just sitting on Imperm and letting Phantom use Vanishing Lanius' effect, as well as Rebellions, because Imperm could have negated Lanius' effect to summon Sharp Lanius, and therefore prevent Rebellion from being summoned in the first place, and taking out Mega Fleet Dragon, which means that since Galaxy Soldier cannot be attacked, Phantom would still fissure it, but then attack Mega Fleet with F-Zero, then attack directly with Lanius, Redoer, and Break Sword. So Cory only reduces the damage done this turn by 1,200, but Phantom doesn't have a big Rebellion on the field anymore, which means our heroes keep some life points, and now Phantom has a weak spot, even if he does have a set Wabaku. So yeah, should have been Perm. Misplay. What I do know is definitely a misplay though, is Phantom not attacking Erik with all of your monsters. Now I get it, it's a 2-on-1 duel, and generally you want to beat down both of them rather than leave one at full health and kill the other one. But Erik is wide open and has nothing, while Cory has a 1,200 attack points Mega Fleet Dragon and 2 face downs. Plus, knocking Erik out would increase your chances of winning since it's now a 1-on-1 chance and you have the definitively better deck and field advantage. So yeah, definitive misplay to Phantom. Let's return to the duel. It's Erik's turn. He draws and gets Reactor Dragon. During the standby phase, Redoer takes the top card of Erik's deck, and it gets the monster Ancient Gear Wyvern. Erik isn't bothered though, because he activates a continuous spell card, Ancient Gear Fortress. Now Phantom cannot target nor destroy Ancient Gear monsters with card effects on the turn that they are summoned, nor respond to their effect's activation. Now, he normal summons Ancient Gear Frame and uses its effect, discarding one card, Reactor Dragon, to add one Ancient Gear Golem or a spell and trap card that lists Golem in his card text from his deck to his hand, and he adds the spell Ancient Gear Fusion. Next, he activates Pot of Desires, finishing the top 10 cards of his deck to draw 2 cards, which are Double Summon and Forbidden Droplets. He activates Double Summon, giving him 1 additional normal summon for this turn, and with his second normal summon, he summons Elemental Hero Prisma. He uses its effect. By revealing Ultimate Golem in his extra deck, he can send one of its materials to the graveyard, and Prisma gets its name. Erik sends the second Ancient Gear Golem, and Prisma becomes Ancient Gear Golem. Now Erik activates Ancient Gear Fusion. This lets him fusion summon using Ancient Gear's monsters, and because he's using a Gear Golem on the field in Prisma, he can use material in his deck as well. He sends a third Golem, an unknown Ancient Gear, which will say its ultimate pound, from his deck to the graveyard to fusion summon level 9 Ancient Gear Megaton Golem. Next, he activates a spell card Forbidden Droplets. By sending cards he controls or from his hand to the graveyard, he can negate the effects of that many monsters Phantom controls, as well as have their attack points. Since Erik has no hand, he has to send from his field. He sends Ancient Gear Frame and Fortress, then he selects Dark Rebellion, who goes down to 1850 attack points, and F-Zero, who goes down to 1500 attack points. And because Megaton was summoned with 2 golems, it can attack twice. Erik moves to enter his battle phase, but the moment he does, Phantom activates a trap card Wabaku. Now for the rest of the turn, Phantom's monsters cannot be destroyed by battle, and all battle damage Phantom would take is reduced to 0. With no other moves left to make, Erik ends his turn. So Droplet's effects expire, and F-Zero's attack points return to 3,000, while Dark Rebellion's return to its original 2,500. And they both get their effects back. It's Cory's turn. He draws and gets Honest. During the standby phase, Redoer's effect activates, stealing Cyber Dragon hers this time. Cory starts by activating the trap card Reckless Greed, so by skipping his next 2 draw phases, he can draw 2 more cards, and he gets Pot of Desires and Cyber Red System. He then activates Desires, banishing 10 to draw 2, which are a second Galaxy Soldier and an unknown card. Never seen or used, and all we know is it's a light machine monster, so let's say it's Cyber Barrier Dragon. Cory activates his set Infinite Impermanence, negating F-Zero's effect until the end of the turn, and all card effects in that column. Now he discards Barrier Dragon to special summon his Galaxy Soldier, but Desires banish all of his targets, so Soldier can't search anything. Then Cory activates Cyber Rev System, which special summons 1 Cyber Dragon from his hand or graveyard, and makes it unable to be destroyed by card effects. He revives his original Cyber Dragon. He then overlays his level 5 monsters to XZ summon rank 5 Cyber Dragon Nova. He then uses Nova's effect, detaching material, Cyber Dragon, to revive any Cyber Dragon monster in his graveyard, and he revives the Cyber Dragon he just detached. And yes, that move was legal because almost every Cyber Dragon in his graveyard is treated as the original Cyber Dragon while it's in the graveyard. It's just that now there's a new target after he detached, and he took that new target. Moving forward, Cory ranks up Nova to XC summon, rank 6, Cyber Dragon Infinity in attack mode. Infinity gains 200 attack points for every material it has,
So its attack points are 2,500.
Now Cory activates Infinity's effect, equipping an opponent's monster to this monster as the season material once per turn, and it takes F0. And since it's an overlay unit, it's now up to 2,700 attack points. Battle phase. Cory has Cyber Dragon attack Break Sword. It's destroyed and Phantom takes 100 points of damage. Next he has Infinity attack Redoer, but Phantom activates Redoer's monster effect, banishing itself until the end phase. Since hers went to the graveyard, Cory should be able to add a Cyber Dragon from his deck to his hand, but he doesn't. So let's just say that Desires banishes his targets. Cory gets to replay his attack though, so he changes his attack target to Dark Rebellion, and just to do more damage, he activates effectively Honest in his hand.
Since a light type monster is battling an opponent's monster, by discarding this card,
That monster gains attack points go to the opponent's monster. So Dark Rebellion dies, and Phantom takes 2,700 points of damage. Next, Cory activates a quick play spell Cyberload Fusion. By shuffling Cyber Dragons from his field and or banishment back to his deck, he can special summon a fusion monster that requires Cyber Dragon as material. He returns Cyber Dragon to his field, and the hers that just got in the graveyard thanks to Redoer leaving the field to fusion summon
Cyber Twin Dragon.
And Twin can attack twice per turn, so he orders Twin to attack Phantom directly. Phantom chains though with Fog Blade's effect from the graveyard. By banishing it, Phantom can revive a Phantom Knights from the graveyard. So Rusty Barty, she's returned. Cory gets to replay the attack though. So for his first attack, he destroys Rusty, then Phantom takes 700 points of damage. Then Cory orders the second attack as a direct attack on Phantom, who takes 2,800 points of damage, leaving Phantom with only 1,100 life points left. Cory ends his turn, and Redoer returns to the field in defense position. Okay, so we have a lot to talk about on that one turn, so let's start with Cory this time. And I haven't said this in a hot minute, so Cory, extra card in hand. Starting from Cory's first turn, he had 6 cards in hand. -1 for summoning Cyber Dragon. Prepare Plant Mayhem card neutral, so we won't count it. -2 because he discarded a card to summon Galaxy Soldier, and of course summoning the Soldier itself. -1 for normal summoning Dry. -2 for setting 2 trap cards, so he's at 0 now. Everyone else has their turn. And then back to Cory, +1 for the draw phase, +2 for Reckless, -1 for activating Desires, but then +2 for drawing 2 cards from Desires, -2 for summoning Soldier again, -1 for using Rev System, and -1 for using Honest. So that's 0 cards, and he still activates Cyberload Fusion, so whoops. Also, if you were paying attention to my wording, Cyberload Fusion should not have been able to activate, because even if Cory did draw it fair and square, Cyberload Fusion takes Cyber Dragons on the field and or banished face up. But Cory has no banished face up cards aside from the face down ones thanks to Desires. So yeah, that was an illegal play right there, and is therefore cheating. Moving on to Phantom though, we gotta give a misplay to Phantom for summoning Rusty. Now, Phantom saving itself isn't an issue. It's just that you could have brought back, say, Break Sword in defense mode, and saved yourself some life points. But instead, Phantom revived a monster that couldn't be in defense mode. Although what's funny is, due to my math, you wouldn't need those 700 extra life points. Although due to the original math, you would. Cause, we gotta give a final misplay to the life point counter. See, the screen says that Phantom has 1,700 life points left. But the thing is that Phantom has 7,400 life points before the attack started. -100 when Cyber Dragon attacks, 7,300. -2,700 when Infinity destroys Rebellion with Honest Boost, -700 when Twin destroys Bardiche makes 3,900, and then -2,800 from a direct attack makes 1,100. So I don't really know what to say at the end of all this, except oops, I guess. Or maybe ask someone to check over your script. Fortunately, a few mistakes doesn't destroy the enjoyment of a project like this. At the end of the day, these videos are made for entertainment, and I am entertained. So, let's get back to the entertainment, because it's Phantom's turn, and the penultimate turn of the duel. It draws and gets Barrel from a different dimension,
he activates it.
returning 3 removed from play monsters to its graveyard. It returns Ancient Cloak, Torn Scales, and an unknown card. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say Silent Boots?
A Silent Boots that he never banishes, so either he's out of targets or this is a misplay. But either way,
It then banishes Cloak again to fetch another Silent Boots. And because another Phantom Knight was banished, Torn Scales is special summoned again. And because a Phantom Knight was special summoned, Phantom Knights of Stained Greaves can be special summoned from the hand. Phantom then sets Scales and Greaves in the Link Arrows to Link Summon Link 2 IP Masquerena. Now Phantom uses Redoer's Trap effect, detaching material, to bounce Infinity back to the top of Cory's extra deck. Cory chains by using Infinity's effect, detaching material, Cyber Dragon, to negate and destroy Redoer. Phantom chains with the quick play spell card Forbidden Chalice from its hand, so Infinity loses its effect but gains 400 attack points. So Redoer is safe and Infinity is sent back to the extra deck. Two things. First off, Redoer had no overlay units. It just came back from being banished. I mean, Phantom could have attached one during the standby phase, but Phantom actually hasn't been taking any Exceed materials during its own turn for some reason. I guess because it's a 2-on-1, during Phantom's turns, it counts both players as being active at once, so it just can't pick one target for Phantom to choose, so it doesn't take either. You know, if you want to explain it, but I think that since it's 2-on-1, he should be able to choose which deck he picks from. Or at the very least, take from Cory exclusively since he went last, but that's my in-universe justification if you really want to steel man it. But either way, yeah, there was no trap attached to Redoer, so illegal play. And the other thing is how Chalice was an extra card in Phantom's hand. Let me break this down. Ready? Here we go. Phantom started with 5 cards in hand. -1 for summoning Tour Guide, -1 for Kagemucha, +1 for adding Silent Boots, -1 for summoning Boots, +1 for adding Fogblade, -1 from Tour Scale's effect, -1 for setting Waboku. Now has 2 cards in his hand. The heroes have their turns. And now, +1 for drawing, +1 from Redoer's spell effect, -1 for summoning Vanishing Lanius, -1 for summoning Sharp Lanius, -1 for using Fissure, and now Phantom ends its turn with 1 card in hand, which is Stained Greaves. Now on Phantom's next turn, it draws Burial. So yeah, extra card. Moving on. Phantom banishes one of its Fogblades from the graveyard to revive Stained Greaves. Now Phantom special summons the Silent Boots from its hand with its effect. Now it sets the Link markers with Link 2 Masquerena and Stained Greaves to Link Summon Link 3 Nightmare Unicorn. It illegally activates Unicorn's effect, discarding a card from its empty hand to shuffle Megaton back into the extra deck. But because Megaton left the field due to opponent's card effect,
Erik is allowed to special summon a monster ignoring its summoning conditions, and that monster is...
Ultimate HNGRY VII.
Phantom is more than fine with this though, because it sets the Link 3 Unicorn and Silent Boots into the Link markers. It Link summons Link 4 Access Code Talker in attack mode. Access Code's effect activates on summon. Since it was Link summoned using a Link monster, it gains attack points equal to that material's Link rating times 1000. Unicorn was a Link 3, so Access Code gains 3000 attack, putting it at 5300. Access Code's other effect activates by banishing a Link monster from Phantom's grave. Access Code can destroy 1 card in the opponent's field, but Phantom cannot banish other cards with the same attributes the rest of the turn. Phantom banishes the Dark attribute Masquerena, and since Cory has been the bigger threat this entire duel, Access Code destroys Cyber Twin Dragon. Phantom orders Access Code to attack Cory directly. Cory accepts that his friend is fully gone, and tosses his Overload Fusion to Erik before the attack connects. Which is illegal, obviously, but at this point, Cory and Phantom have been dueling to decide who can cheat the most. The attack connects, and Cory's life points hit 0, and the Phantom virus begins to infect him. It's all up to Erik now to save the day. Phantom offers him the opportunity to surrender, but Erik tells him that while he's never believed in the heart of the cards before, since someone believes in him, he'll give it a go. It's Erik's turn, and the final turn of the duel. He draws and gets the equipped spell, Mistbody. Now, Erik could just have Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem attack Redoer and win the duel, but that's not an epic way to end this duel. You got style on the opponent, right? Erik activates Cyberload Fusion, banishing all 7 machine-type monsters in the graveyard, including Cory's Cyber Dragon, the Fusion Summon. Overdragon gains injured attack points for each monster used in its summoning, meaning its attack points rise to 5,600. And Overdragon gains 1 additional attack on monsters for every material used in its summon, meaning Erik can attack monsters 7 times this turn. Phantom isn't impressed by a monster only 300 attack points stronger than its Access Code Talker, and points out how that once Access Code and Redoer die, Overdragon can't attack directly. However, Erik wasn't planning to destroy Access Code, because he activates equipped spell Mistbody. This card makes the equipped monster unable to be destroyed by battle, and Erik equips it on to Access Code Talker.
Me?
Yes, you! Erik attacks Access Code Talker repeatedly, winning the duel, curing Cory as well as Gary, and saving the entire world from the virus. At least, for now. So, could the virus have defeated Cory and Erik? Well, we proved yes. Not only did it defeat Cory, but it could have wiped out one of them instead of just doing damage to both. If it would have been a bit more of a fair fight, then in that scenario, it would have won. Plus, it had a fog blade in the graveyard that it never utilized and wasn't using Redoer to its full potential. So it had the better deck, but I guess since it only just manifested, it didn't really know what it was doing yet. It's essentially a teenager mentally, which explains the edgelord look, honestly. I truly believe, though, that the moment it lost was when it decided to split the damage between both duelists. Plus, after that, both it and Cory were just deciding who could throw the rule back out the farthest and do whatever was cool. But when the fate of the world is on the line, maybe we can look the other way when someone cheats. What I can say without a doubt, though, is that Erik did a great job at following the rules this entire way through and getting the win in the end. Plus making Phantom use up all of its cards so they wouldn't have much for Cory to deal with. And Cory did a great job keeping hope in his friend until the very end, as well as carrying the two of them through a lot of moments. And together, they made a solid team, and one that couldn't win without the other's help. I wish the duel didn't have as much cheating, so I could give you more of a definitive yes or no, but it is what it is, and what it is solid. Because regardless of the errors, this is still a very entertaining duel, and one great crossover between the two great fan shows of three great men. But what do you think? Did you notice any misplays that I missed? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to check out both Yu-Gi-Oh! HNGRY VII as well as Yu-Gi-Oh! Comic Life. Links to both channels are in the description. And with all that said, have a happy Halloween. Butu.